I can confirm today that the Essendon Football Club, James Hird, Danny Corcoran, Bruce Reid and Mark Thompson have been charged under the AFL rules in relation to the supplements program at the club in 2011-2012.
So charges against Essendon and against the 4 individuals, and this has obviously been the source of much conjecture and much legal negotiation probably over the past 48 hours and potentially longer.
Well, the club takes these charges very, very seriously, as you would expect. We need now to carefully examine the supporting information and documentation that underpins these charges. I guess as part of examining the charges in more detail, our first glance would suggest to us that there are components of the charges that we believe are reasonable. However, there are also components of the charges that we believe are quite unreasonable, and therefore, from a club point of view, we believe we need to continue to focus on the legal options that will protect the individuals and ensure natural justice is had. The support for the 4 individuals now becomes an absolute priority for the club. James Hird, Bomber Thompson, Danny Corcoran and Bruce Reid, all 4 of them have the total support of the football club, the total support of members and sponsors. A tough time for them. They know that, we know that, but they continue to have our support. However, I should say that there will be no corners cut here in trying to reach deadlines that may be deadlines for the AFL, not necessarily deadlines for the club. So we recognise the importance of the 26th of August. However, the imperative that the club delivers natural justice to these 4 individuals is equally as important, if not more so.
Yeah, to be charged by the AFL for bringing the game you love into disrepute or undermining the integrity of the game, really, is the way I see it, is it's pretty shattering. I think all 4 of us have seen it as a real slur on our character and something that we want to defend vigorously. We obviously don't believe that the charges are correct, and we obviously want to challenge those charges. But it's about our football club, it's about who we are as people, about our integrity, and I think that we'll fight to defend that.
Next steps are terribly important, and I guess for the club in particular and our fans, our very loyal fans and members, our finals campaign remains a priority for the club and the board. There are certain elements of the media that would suggest that that shouldn't necessarily be our focus. However, I'm here to ensure you that it very much is. I'd have to say, in relation to the players, it has been somewhat disappointing that there are certain elements that have been less than helpful in trying to re-establish the confidence with our players. I think the fact that no infraction notices were received by any player is terribly important, and it has always been my priority, as it was with David Evans, to ensure that the players, their families, their welfare are a #1 priority.
I think the fact that the players haven't been charged with an infraction notice through this process, I think it's been 6.5 months, 130 odd interviews, 1,300 documents have been looked at, and hours of people have been spoken to, and our players have not got an infraction notice, which I think reinforces to us all that what happened last year is not what other people think it was, and our players did not take banned substances, our players didn't take harmful substances, and I think the fact that no infraction notice has been issued is another sign of that. We've always had the best supporters in the AFL, but I suppose the one thing we ask them going forward through this investigation is just stick with us until we get through this, because we will get through it, and our club will be back to being as great as it always has been very shortly.
Ever since the kids started going to school across the road, I'm usually up at 7 every morning, and the kids have got to be there by 8. They like to get there at 8 so I can have a kick around and a play. So it's usual routine of drop the kids off, go and get a coffee from one of the coffee shops around close by, and have a coffee and a couple of pieces of toast with Vegemite, and if it's a good day, I'll read the paper or listen to a bit on the radio. So it, football these days, it's everything's measured. No matter what, you've got to be there obviously at a certain time. You've got to do certain things. right down, from, I suppose, from 9 o'clock in the morning till sort of 4 o'clock by the time you leave. So I think it just gives you a bit of time for me just to, relax and switch on before, that day's, coming up. Years ago we wouldn't even be getting here at 9 o'clock in the morning, let alone 8:30, 9 o'clock. You'd be here at sort of, 5 o'clock and your day would start from there. So, football's become pretty professional now and got to do everything right, otherwise you get left behind.
Dustin Fletcher equals the game's record of one of the greatest players of all time in Simon Madden on 378.
He's now equal number one at Essendon for games played with the great Simon Madden, and he's now fourth all-time on the AFL games played list behind Tuck Bartlett and Robert Harvey.
Oh, I suppose to become the record holder at Essendon means quite a lot. I suppose to play, I think just to play for over 20 years at the top levels, obviously the main thing. But to equal Simon and become, I suppose, part of the Essendon history is it sits pretty well. To play for 20 years and have the support along the way. The supporters have been great, but I think this one's going to be up there, along with the finals, playing finals and playing grand finals, because it's something you don't set out to play over 300 games, but when it comes along, you enjoy the milestone.
Fletch, he's a great man. I've always called him the octopus man because he just seems every now and then there's an extra leg or an extra arm comes out when he hits the ball or kicks it away. It's fantastic. I think he's a marvel. I think the way he's been playing, the way he's just endured. And, realistically, I have the experience to say this, it's not easy getting to that many games. A lot of people have said that records are there to be broken. And I must admit, the way football changed, I wasn't sure if anybody'd get this far. But to see Fletch do it, and do it in the style he's been doing it, I've got to take my hat off to him. The bit I love is the way the supporters have taken to that, and to watch him come down the middle, and you can see the crowd lift and say they're looking for a big bomb to come out of him.
Let's go the torpedo. Look at the Essendon fans behind the goals. They're bowing to him.
Come on, Dustin.
He's pointing to the goal square.
In he goes. Winds up. It wasn't straight, but it was long. It was 80.
Well, look, I coached both boys in Simon Madden, and Simon's a fantastic player. They've both been magnificent players for the club. Can Dustin get to 400? I would think that there's every chance. I mean, obviously it depends on his wanting to do it, and also his capabilities of keeping himself fresh, and his welfare and his body and his happiness.
Well, I hope he can at least have a couple of years. I'd love him to get to 400 games. I think it'd be fantastic. I think the modern day player should be able to play a little bit longer. I think with the way that they're set up with their clubs and the way they're looked after, and individual training and full-time professional footballers, I think it's a great opportunity, and I'd like to see a lot of people play 400 games. I think they should, and I hope that Dustin Fletcher is one of those that gets there.
But it does depend on how many they have on the bench in the next 10 to 20 years. If they end up with 6 on the bench, Dustin could play another 3 years. You would never. So it's all about the rules of the game. But I hope he gets to 400. We very rarely see Dustin Fletcher up the front end. They always move a Hurley or a Carlisle, but he might be a secret weapon one day, just in his last year.
Contest that to allow Michael Long to chip it in there to Fletcher, who marks 40 metres from goal.
I can recall Kevin Sheedy early in his career talking about Dustin at some stage we're going to get him forward, centre half forward or full forward, and you wait till we get him onto the forward line, and we still haven't got him onto the forward line. So Kevin Sheedy back then always was going to get him onto the forward line, but he never did. A couple of times when he's just wandered down from full back and he's got Kevin Sheedy's thoughts in his mind that maybe he should have been a forward, and he stands around about the centre circle and he unloads a big torpedo, and it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and it's gone, and it goes through for a goal from one of those big torpedoes. I think that's a lasting memory for a lot of people.
He's going to Dustin. He's got the top. He's got plenty of carry. It's going. It's going. It's gone.
It certainly was far removed from the glamour of AFL football, but for Dustin Fletcher, loyalty to his school and his mates took priority this afternoon.
So he used his attributes, his long reach, his pace, his spring, and he was a very good rebounder as well.
I mean, Dustin's probably the Bruce Stewart of Essendon. He doesn't say much, but if he does speak, the whole club listens.
G'day guys, it's Michael Hurley here. We're going for a bit of a drive in the nice Kia Sportage. I've got Ken here, die-hard fan. I'm going to ask him a few questions. Have you had any favourite players or special players to you?
Wangadam was good, Hurdy was good, Madden was good, yourself obviously.
The premierships, were you lucky enough to be there and be a part of it?
In '93 we beat Carlton, so that was pretty much had it from the word go, so that was a buzz also.
Always fun beating Carlton, isn't it?
Absolutely it is.
To thank you for your support of the Essendon Football Club, Kia is offering savings on all cars for anyone who's been a member for over 12 months. If you like the look of the Kia Sportage, you can save up to $2,000 when buying one, just for supporting your favourite club. Go to the URL on screen to learn about Kia's Essendon members' offers.
It certainly was far removed from the glamour of AFL football, but for Dustin Fletcher, loyalty to his school and his mates took priority this afternoon as Essendon Grammar lined up against Ivanhoe Grammar.
Shepherd hard and tackle, and let's have a good win.
Yeah, Dustin's career's gone from since I was teaching him here at Pegs, and you can see the photo up there and another one over here, that he had the choice then whether to play for the school as captain or play for Essendon. He missed 3 games, and I was really proud of him. I probably put a bit of subtle pressure on because I was his coach, and I said, they're not going to win the premiership without you, mate, so it's up to you though. So he took the right decision, and then he ended up playing in the other premiership as well, so it's a big year.
He's going into the centre.
Fletcher's in a ruck.
Oh, that's a big ask, isn't it? Where's Alessia? Oh, gee. That's a big ask for the kid.
I'd been at the club a couple of years, and I saw this skinny, scrawny kid rock up. He was tall at that stage. He was 6'4", 5" at that stage, and just thinking, how's he going to survive? All of a sudden, over the pre-season, this 17-year-old was playing some fantastic football, and you could see that for a guy his size, how fast he was, how well he read the play, and how he fitted straight into the side at full back in one of the most important positions we could have.
Yeah, it was quite bizarre because he always got the big jobs like Dunstall and Kernahans, and for a kid just to rock up, play school footy on a Wednesday, then back up and play MCG on some of the superstars, he just took it in his stride, and it's probably the legacy that he's left on the place and his teammates, that nothing really sort of phases him or bothers him, and it's probably why his longevity playing in probably the worst spot on the ground.
He's done well in the first couple of minutes, young Fletcher. Last time he was at this ground was in a grand final in the under-18 competition.
For me, the thing that stands out is he is laid back, and really sort of a humble bloke, but he's just got this inner drive and competitiveness that gets him to contests that he shouldn't get to. When I see Fletch playing football, I see a forward who thinks he's going to mark the ball, and 2 seconds later, Fletcher's got the ball in his hands, and it's like, well, how did he do that?
I think he read the game particularly well. He didn't get involved in body contests when he didn't need to, so he used his attributes, his long reach, his pace, his spring, and he was a very good rebounder as well.
I used to always dread, not that I did it a lot, but playing, Jason Dunstall out at Waverley, where, footy's playing a lot different back then. It was pretty much you and Jason Dunstall in the forward line. You knew you were in for a tough day, and but it's hard to split because Gary Ablett's such a champion, and Tony Lockett was the same. And I suppose you look back on your career, and in a way you're lucky enough to be played on those guys, let alone to every now and then hold them to a goal tally of under sort of 4 goals. Sometimes you've done a pretty good job.
He lobs it in the square. Carey from behind couldn't take it. Fletcher to run away from the full back line. Kicks it out wide.
I used to think he'd have to run around in the shower to get wet. He was that skinny, but unbelievably, that's the build he's had his whole career, and that's probably been his secret to playing a lot of footy. He's lost none of his pace because of that wiry, skinny build that he's had his whole career.
I rate him right up there in the modern day great fullbacks. The fact that he can play in all different sizes and shapes, and the fact that he's played close to 400 games. He's held some of the great full forwards to very low numbers, so he's got to be up there in the top handful of fullbacks of all time.
Fletcher straight down the middle. Delightful hand pass from Carousella up to Lucas. Maybe Lloyd will get an opportunity now.
I've always been seen as biased because I've played with Fletch, but I've regarded him as the greatest fullback that I ever saw. You know, Steve Silvani, Matty Scarlett, Jeff Southby are probably the three others that people talk about a lot. But just think that you know, Fletcher's the most important player that I've ever played with. So I've always said that Hurd was the best, but Dustin was the most important. To have a goalkeeper in a game of AFL football, you know, there's never been one before, but with his arms and his legs and his spoils, I said for every goal that I kicked, Fletch saved double or triple. So he was just a freak of a player, still is, and that's why he's played from 17 to 38.
I think with my memories over the career, you know, the first one, you know, before grand finals and all the rest of it is being involved in a great club. You know, I've grown up with a footy club ever since I was, you know, probably 4 or 5, to be honest, with, you know, Dad playing and running around the change rooms and all that type of stuff. So I think, you know, the main one's the club and the people you meet along the way, Reedy, you know, in the last, you know, Hurdy as coach, but just some great people, Kevin Sheedy along the way. So that's probably the main one. And definitely the other two is playing. You know, Sheed's always told me you don't play football just to play football. You play to play finals, and I've been lucky enough to do that, you know, quite a few times. And obviously my first year in '93 and 2000 would have to be, you know, the greatest, you know, years of my career, because it's what you set out to achieve. And you know, when you're standing on the MCG with, you know, with 5 minutes to go, and you know that you know, you've had the full 22 games, you've had a final series, and you're the best in the competition, well, obviously that sits pretty well.
There's the bounce, Somerville, and there's the siren. Victory for the Bombers.
Number 31, another baby, Dustin Fletcher.
He's left a massive legacy, no doubt, on all his teammates over the journey, and you know, to back it up year after year over 20 years, and lead from the front and inspire us, and that's only on footy trips. He's don't worry about the 379 games and breaking the record. That's a fair effort, but to back up 20 footy trips year after year, that's legend status.
He's a good bloke to have a beer with, Fletch. He's got a very dry sense of humour, and he does let himself off the leash occasionally, and that's always good fun to be around, because it doesn't happen that often, but when it does happen, you want to be around.
I mean, Dustin's probably the Bruce Stool of Essendon. He doesn't say much, but if he does speak, the whole club listens, not just the team.
What he means to the current playing group is that he's the father figure. He's certainly someone they refer to when they want some advice around whether it's football or something to do with their careers. He's quietly spoken, but when he does speak, the boys listen to him. He leads by example. He's the first to arrive and always the last to leave.
That consistency, great team man, and endurance. You know, the club's endured a whole lot of strife supposed strife this year, and it has over its history at different times, but the club's been able to endure everything. And you look at Fletch, and he's been able to continually endure, and I think it's been fantastic. And I think that's a really good legacy to be able to leave to the young players, to look up and say, here's a bloke in the modern era to play over 350, over 375, and he'll be able to say, and that they'll be able to say, and he even went past Simon Madden's games. That's pretty good endurance.
He's been a wonderful player. Had the odd indiscretion here and there where he's been suspended, but he's just been you know, Inspector Gadget. You know, a lot of people like to call him. He's very rarely beaten. And just the way he goes about it, it's not about him, it's about the team. He's always put the team first, and I think that's that's the legacy that he'll leave behind.
Ball bounces nicely for Cripps. Cripps hits the front. Cripps runs into the open goal. Little handball over the top. Hill, game over, you would think, and Cripps has been poleaxed. Here, Ed, you'll get a closer look with Fletcher coming in off Hill.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be in trouble.
Obviously, it was a disappointing game, but yeah, we look forward to next week. And unfortunately, I won't be out there, but you know, I'll be back in 2 weeks. I suppose my next 2 weeks, you know, the first thing will be train hard and make sure I don't lose any fitness, and you know, help the boys out as much as I can, whether it be you know, helping herding the coaches out or helping you know, the players out, because it's a big 2 weeks, and you know, obviously we know, we're a good shot at playing finals, so there's a fair bit to play for. I think 379 works out to be Richmond if all goes well. So, a lot of people always say to me 400 would be great, but footy is getting tougher and tougher. But if I do get another pre-season and be smart about it, and can keep the speed and keep the body in a good positive shape, well, you never know, you might give it a go. But I'm not done yet, and I still enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to it.
The thing that I value most in life would be my family.
If I was making an important decision for my family, the thing I would value is probably the future.
The decision that I'm making for them is the right one, and also something that's going to make them happy.
Make sure that in the future I'm financially stable and I can bring them up into a good lifestyle.
I think when you're making decisions about your family and the importance that you place on those decisions is their financial future and their happiness and security, and then you try and balance that with their lifestyle and trying to provide them the most enjoyable lifestyle you can. Difficult to get the balance right sometimes, but if you can find something that can do both, then I think that's the ultimate.
G'day guys, welcome back for another edition of Dyson's Diary. This week we're down at Spencer Panels down in South Melbourne. I've been fortunate enough to meet some great people over the last few years, and Frankie and Dave have run the show down here at Spencer Panels, so often pop in here for a coffee and a bit of a chat and a bit of a laugh with the guys. And I suppose I've had a couple of bingles in my car, so they've been great and fixed up my car for me. So if anyone has a bit of a stack, you can bring your car down here to Spencer Panels and they'll sort you out. Also just going on from the footy side of things, last week was a bit of a disappointing result against West Coast, but the boys have been really upbeat this week and we're really looking forward to the upcoming game. So obviously going to be an exciting one against North Melbourne, and really looking forward to it. Good on you guys, we'll see you next week.
Something most people would know about me is that I study accounting at the moment, so first year starting that and haven't got my exam results yet.
Well, Heppel brilliant to Kavanagh, the finish, spot on.
Most annoying teammate, Sean Gregory, Sticks, in other words. He's really a different character, I must say. Best thing about playing for the Bombers is that I grew up barracking for them back when I was a little tacker, so obviously being around people you idolise when you're a kid, such as James Hird, all those kind of people, so it's just an unbelievable feeling. Don't forget to visit the Essendon website to take part in the fan segment for your chance to win an Antler prize pack.
This has been a Fox Footy production for Fox Sports.